Hi, I'm John. This is my show, A Sports Reckoning. So I'm gonna call out Merleworld. I always want to say Merles with an S, you know. So it's like I gotta stop for a second. Merleworld card. I think he calls himself Merlin and shit, right? So I'm gonna like straight out call Merleworld's cards for the statement of what he just said, and I'm going to label it as actual racism, real racism. A serious racist comment. He made as racist, as derogatory as a comment as can be made against black people. And the community's not going to care anything about that. Nobody's going to call him a racist and shit, right? And it's like, you know, because you think because he's sitting next to Dan, and it's like, that's not what it is. Dan's a fucking attorney and shit, right? Dan lives like a white person. It's like they had this thing like in South Africa, right? They had this thing called apartheid, right? And so in the apartheid system, like the whites was the top echelon class and stuff, and the blacks was the bottom echelon class, right? So but in that apartheid system, you could go like Dan's Vietnamese, right? Okay, so if Dan went to South Africa as being a Vietnamese refugee or whatever, immigrant, and he became a lawyer, and he dressed nice and he talked proper, right? And he started sucking the cock of all the fucking white people and shit. That's what he does here. There is no difference between what he's doing here compared to like what they did in South Africa and shit, right? So Dan's sucking all the fucking white cock and shit, and he's all happy, and he's talking white people talk and shit, and acting like a white person and shit, ingraining himself into the white culture of society and shit, right? So then, in that society of apartheid, you could move up this system where you could be Vietnamese, but you could be labeled as a white person. Like, that was that apartheid system and shit. That's how it was, right? So Dan, the great curator, being here in America, it's the same system of what's taking place. Dan's not Vietnamese anymore. Dan's white. He's white, right? We're like, I'm white, but I'm much more closer I'd be much more closer to like, because I'm like ghetto and shit, right? So like, even though I'm white, I don't fully understand the system of how that shit works and stuff, like in South Africa I'm not an expert on it and stuff, right? I just know little things about it. So I don't know, like, how when you move down, like, if you're actually white, I don't know, can you move down and can they label you as black and stuff? Like, see, I don't know exactly how that stuff works and stuff, right? But in America, that's what I would say is like, okay, even though I'm white and I can fool people a little bit and shit, right? Because, you know, it's like, because what they call that, like, white privilege and shit, right? And it's like, well, there's a little bit of white privilege. One thing I want to say about, like, people that they talk about white privilege, it's like, dude, what about big titty privilege? You're going to tell me I get more privileges and opportunities in this fucking country than some bitch who's got big tits? It's like, what about big titty privilege and shit? That's a real thing. And you can buy big tits. Like I said, you can transform, right, and get that big titty privilege, like what Dan did. He transformed from being an immigrant, from fucking Vietnamese immigrant, he transformed into being a white American and shit, right? That's what he is and shit, right? And so that's why Merle feels comfortable with him, because he's actually what he is. He's like white. He's white and shit, right? And it's not about your skin color and shit. It's a matter of how you speak and how you present yourself in society and how you bow down and suck cock and shit. And actually, when you get into the big picture of it, actually what it is they're following in Satan's plan, and actually what these people are Satan worshipers, and they're fucking doomed to hell. They don't know it and shit, but that's what the fuck they are. They have no clue about what's actually taking place, who actually set up this system for them to bow down and suck cock and fucking adhere to the rules. They don't know who set the rules up. And it's like, well, when you actually get to the real thing of who set the rules up, it's Satan. Satan's the one that's in control of all this shit. He's the one that's fooling you, and he's forcing you to line up in this order system of which he set up so that he can fucking get your soul, and you can bow down, and that's what you're going to be doing. So when I say you're always sucking cock, because at some point you're going to be sucking Satan's cock, you're a cocksucker. Just because you talk nice and you think that you fucking look like a good, clean, proper fucking citizen and shit, all you are to me, all I see is a cocksucker, because eventually you're going to be there fucking bowing down to Satan and sucking his cock in hell. That's what you are. Thinking you're fucking like the proper people in the world and shit, right? And it's like, and I don't fit into that class. And it's like, doesn't matter that I'm white. once you start talking to me really quick, you're going to understand I'm not that people. I'm not those white people, right? I'm not those fucking white people, like really quick. And then and when people try and tell me, oh, you got to be nice and all this stuff, it's like, you're telling me I got to suck cock and shit. It's like, you tell me I got to dance? I got to dance, motherfucker. And that's the way I'd like to say to suck cock, because that's the way it's like when people say like, oh, you tell me to dance, okay? So me as a white guy, I'm saying, oh, you telling me to suck cock? That's what you're telling me to do and shit, right? So now let me show you that what Merle said here is flat out racist. There's no mistaking it. But will anybody in the fucking community jump on his ass and be like, dude, that was racist? Well, fucking like Roland with FD, do you think Roland with FD would ever stand up to Merle and say, Merle, what you said there was racist and I was offended by that? No, because Roland with FD wants to be a cocksucking white dude. He dances. He's a dancing motherfucker and shit, right? He wants to get up there and be like white and shit. He wants to be a cocksucking white dude. That's what they are and shit, right? So let me show you. Listen to this.
Okay, I gotta ask.
Okay.
Is it like ghetto out there? I've never been out there. People keep warning me.
Is it like ghetto? It's like, is there gonna be like poverty and shit, right? I never seen poverty in America. I don't hang around poverty people and shit, you know? I'm a good, clean white boy. You can't ask me to go into the ghetto. Okay, so now I'm gonna zoom in on Merle because I want him to be exposed for what he fucking says here, right? So let's go ahead and zoom in on Merle.
There are parts. Yes, we went to go to Walgreens today, and I was looking for a Walgreens because we wanted to get some snacks, and we got cases of water for you and Brian and I for the show because we wanted to get some waters ready to have at our booth. And while we were walking, it got a little sketchy. And while on our way, we found a Vietnamese restaurant. Maybe we should try.
Okay.
But yeah, it got a little dark, dude.
It got a little dark. That is straight racism and shit, right? That's racist because like if you go to Atlanta, Georgia has a large population of like educated, sophisticated black culture and shit, right? So you could go into parts of Atlanta, like I've never been to Atlanta, but I'm just assuming from my understanding of what Atlanta is that you would go into neighborhoods in Atlanta and they would be like what he would say there, consider it dark. It got dark. What he means is there's a lot of black people in that neighborhood. When he says dark, that's what that means. If you people don't know what that means, that's what it means. He said it's not that it got grimy and shit. What he says specifically, when he says it got dark, he means there was black people everywhere. Okay? But what I'm saying is that if it's poverty that you're looking at, you should highlight and emphasize the poverty. And you could talk about like ghetto and be like, we went into a rundown. It got low budget and shit, right? You can say stuff like that, but that doesn't imply black people. Because there's poverty all around the country, you know, they call it like the white trailer trash people and shit, right? A lot of you people have never seen it, but there's very serious poverty and with white people with like what they call these trailer trash. That's out there too and shit, right? And you would get the same feeling if you went into that neighborhood. If you're not familiar with those neighborhoods, and if you went into a neighborhood where it was like the white trailer trash poverty, you would get all the same feelings of like fear and uncertainty as what you would get into the black fucking neighborhood of poverty. You would see all the same fucking elements. It's all the same shit. Okay, so it's fair to describe a neighborhood as being poor and talk about the rundown stuff and looking like ghetto and low rent. That's fine, because that's not describing of a race. That's describing of a financial situation that occurs and, you know, low budget. And then because you're in a neighborhood like that, we know that crime exists in that neighborhood. Just like if it exists in a black fucking low poverty neighborhood, just as it'll exist in a white fucking low poverty neighborhood. You're gonna get a lot of drugs. You're gonna get a lot of crime and shit. That's the way it goes. It's the same thing. But when he invokes the word "it got dark," that's racist. That is racism. That's actual fucking racism. He fucking invoked black people towards the negative poverty stereotypes. He wasn't invoking the neighborhood as what it exists for the low poverty. He invoked the badness of the neighborhood as being that it was filled with black people. Real racism. That's actual fucking racism. And what I'm saying is, like, just because the neighborhood is filled with black people, that doesn't necessarily associate it with being a ghetto and stuff, right? But he what he did is he made that distinction. He made the distinction that it was ghetto and it was filled with black people and shit because it got dark. So when you make that distinction, that's actual racism. That's an actual racist comment from a white guy who's like he's got like some kind of southern accent and shit, right? You know, like this kind of white dude would not feel comfortable hanging around like black people in the ghetto. He wouldn't feel comfortable like that. And it's like, but me, I've been in the ghetto my whole life and shit, right? So I just feel comfortable around people as long as you ain't trying to rob me and shit, right? But then you can understand really quick, this dude's sketchy and shit, right? But then it's like, well, like me, I'd be like, well, he's sketchy and shit, but he's not sketchy because it's not because he's black. He's sketchy because he's got problems and shit, right? Just the same kind of problems you get when I go into the white fucking neighborhoods, the tweakers and shit, right? It's the same fucking shit. Like, you people haven't, a lot of these people, they haven't encountered that shit, right? So for him to associate with that ghetto and that sketchiness shit, he associates it with black people because he's racist and shit, because he doesn't also associate with like the white ghetto people. He doesn't associate with them either and shit, right? So he doesn't know how to make the distinctions and shit. But it's just the sketchiness of what you got to be aware of. But what I say is that you find the same sketchy bullshit as what you'll find in these fucking, like, these people that have money and they seem to be, like, more sophisticated. When you actually fucking talk to them and you actually experience who they are, you find the same sketchiness shit. It exposes itself, just of what Merle just did there. I don't care that you got a nice smile and that you look clean and proper and you got a good job. When it came down to it, make an expression, your personal opinion of that environment is, racism came out of you. Racism. That's racist. You're a fucking racist, Merle. That was fucking racist what you fucking just said. And I'm the fucking ghetto motherfucker that'll stand up to you. Doesn't matter that I'm white and shit. I fucking stand up for people, human fucking rights and shit. And I don't judge people just because of the fucking financial class of where they're fucking from and shit. I judge people by the fucking content of their fucking character and shit, right? But you did not judge those people by the content of the character. You judged them by the fucking color of their fucking skin. It got dark. You're fucking racist, Merle. Fuck you, dude.